All right. Good evening. Sorry I'm a little late. Um, you know, life happens, but it finds a way. All right. Hope everybody's doing well. Tonight I am playing Radical Dreamers, which is I guess the second part in the Chrono series. There's Chrono Trigger, Radical Dreamers, and then Chrono Cross. And what Radical Dreamers is, I guess I've not really played it yet. I kind of took a brief look at it this afternoon. So that way I would know what to expect. But I guess it's like a sort of choose your own adventure text adventure. I just said use adventure twice in the same sentence, so there's that. But Ultimate Final Fantasy is covering Chrono Trigger, Radical Dreamers, and Chrono Cross. So I figured this would be a good opportunity for me to actually play one of the games. And then I'm going to maybe start Chrono Cross off stream, maybe. From what I understand, Radical Dreamers could take anywhere from an hour and a half. Oh, interesting. Choose what was I saying? It's been a long night. It's the alcohol. It's been a gross night too. We had about 70 mile per hour winds last night, and of course I got to, I never like to say where I work, but I'll just say I'm a delivery driver, so it's like working. That was not great. But without further ado, let's get into this and see what this is like. I've never played a text-based adventure game before, or I guess the closest thing I could think of is the Give Yourself Goosebumps books. Is the closest I could imagine this being. This game was originally only released in Japan and made its way to the United States. It all began with a notebook my mother handed me. She told me she found it while cleaning out the closet. This old notebook covered with mold was a diary that belonged to my grandfather who passed away years ago. It contained his distant memories. I wonder if you still remember how we first met in our many adventures. It all seemed like a dream. We ran like the wind during those warm summer days long ago. You were a piece of a star that fell from the sky. I could still relive the memories of those days long past. Just by closing my eyes like so, and whispering your name into the desolate night. Kid. Kid. Are you ready, kid? I know you're anxious, but stay on your toes. Don't get scared now. Yeah, likewise, mate. You mess up and I'm leaving you behind. Got that, Surge? Come on, McGill. Let's go. That bastard Lynx is gonna get what he deserves. Say your prayers, none it'll do you any good. Heh haha. Okay, like I was saying, this game was originally released only in Japan, if you could call it a game, and it didn't make its way to the U.S. until it came out with the Chrono Cross HD version, like 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. So I started a little bit just to see. Change selection, confirm, cancel. Okay. I think Surge is the name of the character from Chrono Cross. So that's what we're going to go with. The old lady's tips off was right on the money. The counter spell on the barrier around the outer walls could have done a real number on us. Kid's plain, unadored braid flicked back and forth across her shoulder as she walked. That's her name. Her name is Kid. We picked our way through the elaborate lattice of the manor's magic shield, moving in closer and closer to Lord Lennox's stronghold. There were three of us: Kid, Magil, and me. I guess it must have been 3 years already since I first met Kid. Back then, I was just a wandering musician, traveling wherever my feet would take me, wherever a few tunes would pay for a warm bed. It was in the Outlands, in a town called Rigoria, where we first ran across one another. And since then, she dragged me along on a whole bunch of adventures, and misadventures, too. Ah, Kid. She was a thief, not just any thief. Just a few months shy of 17, already renowned as one of the realm's greatest. More, she was achingly beautiful, stylish, a joy to be around, and a dab hand at campsite cooking, or shows she liked to claim. The truth was a little different. Those bandits with hearts of gold you've heard about in stories, the ones who steal from the rich and give to the poor, yeah, that wasn't Kid's style. She was short-tempered, prone to lying, bossy, and obsessed with money, and rarely did she care to listen to a single word anyone said to her. Maybe Rachel Zegler should play her in the movie. But she wasn't all bad. Probably. Maybe. Sometimes. She had her moments, anyway. I glanced over my shoulder to see how a shadow hovering behind us blending into the darkness like smoke. Magil, also known as Magil the Shade, was Kid's partner, but even after 3 years, I still hardly knew anything about him. All I knew that he was around 30 years old, and not much of a talker, but he was one heck of a mage. I heard that he and Kid had started working together way before I met her. He always covered the top half of his face with a mask, and I've never seen what he looked like underneath. He was a man so mysterious that sometimes seemed like to be an interloper from another world. It wasn't like Kid to be exactly big on details about her past, but Magil, you might as well not have one. What kind of man was he? What kind of life he lived before nothing? You might ask how I wound up being part of this merry band. Well, it's complicated. I guess you could say that life doesn't always turn out the way you think it will. Kid, who was heading up our little raiding party, suddenly stopped dead. Look lively, boys, we've got company. We glanced around warily as cold, cruel eyes emerged from the darkness. I heard a growl. Dark shadows prowled through the night, surrounding us. A pack of wildcats! There must have been 10 of them. A thrill of fear ran down my spine. Flustered, I pulled my knife from my belt. Kid calmly shifted into a fighting stance. Watch yourself. I don't reckon these buggers have been treated for rabies. The wildcats snarled and growled as they slowly closed in on us, drawing the noose tighter and tighter. Their eyes glinted in the darkness like fireflies, and strings of eager spittle dribbled wetly to the ground. Then one of them sent an almighty roar, soaring to the moon, and the hunt was on. Was I going to attack, use magic, and defend myself? I ran. Oh, think fast! Kid dived into the thick of the pack of wildcats and gave the largest of their number an almighty kick of the chops. The startled beast gave a yelp as it was sent flying. I turned to my right to see that nearby a wildcat was charging towards me, its head lowered menacingly. Panic, I tried to make a last-second dodge. Those went quite fast. Its claws scrapped against my side as it rushed past me. I wonder if I could die in this game. Yeah. I winced in pain for a moment, then turned to face my foe and ready myself. I'll defend myself. What are you doing, Surge? Oh, incoming! Kid nimbly twisted her body to dodge the incoming wildcat's attack, then slammed her fist in the side of the beast's head. It gave a wounded cry. While the blow wasn't fatal, it collapsed to the ground and twitched in pain. Surge, behind you! Panicked by Kid's warning, I whirled around and came face to face with a pair of eyes blazing like hellfire. A wildcat was coming right at me. By reflex, I ducked, its attack swiping through the air and directly over my head. I felt its hot breath on the cheek on my cheek as it flew by me. At the same time, I thrust my knife upward, plunging it into the beast's belly. With a horrible cry of agony, the wildcat crashed face first to the ground. But I lost my balance in the chaos and fell down in a heap as well. I rolled over and was only able to stagger back to my feet before readying myself for my next opponent. I was breathing heavily. The handle of my knife was slick with sweat, and I tightened my grip. With a kick like a bolt of lightning, Kid landed a clean hit on the flank of a nearby wildcat. It staggered before losing its footing, letting out a pathetic cry, but Kid had already moved in to finish it off. And then, the roar of fire, a burning smell filled my nostrils. Next to me, a shrill screech pierced the air. Magil's fire spell engulfed the head of a nearby wildcat and fled, darting off into the darkness like an arrow. I scanned the area. Only moments ago, we had been surrounded, but now there wasn't a single wildcat left. Kid and Magil had either sent the rest off with their tails between their legs or put them down once and for all. Ha! You're dreaming if you think that path of flea-bitten moggies is gonna stop us, Lynx. Kid crossed her arms and flashed a triumphant grin. This is a lot harder with alcohol. Meanwhile, I was panting heavily, and it felt like my legs were about to give out from under me. I collapsed to my knees, overwhelmed by what I had just been through. Whew! I'd taken a few hits, but I was fine otherwise. A couple of scars to talk about later, maybe, but nothing that would stop me carrying on. Are you hurt? Magil looked down at me, his face expressionless as ever. No worries, Madge. He'll be alright, said Kid, barging in to get a better look at me. He may be a winging sook, but it'll take more than a few scratches to kill this one. A winging sook. It says winging. I thought maybe it said whining. She was nothing if not sympathetic. But she was right. There was no time to be moaning. There was no time to be bemoaning my lot. We hadn't even reached the manor yet. I dabbed at my wounds with a with a tincture-soaked cloth and wrapped them with bandages. Then looked up at the other two. We're just getting started, I grinned back, putting on a brave face. That's what I like to hear, kid, cheerily announced from the close quarters. Kitty, 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 kitty. Trinity's being very vocal. I don't know if my camera might pick that up. But then her eyes turned cold, like a cool glow of the moon in the night sky. It's gonna be a long night. I nodded, trying my hardest not to utterly lose myself in her pale blue eyes. All right, let's get this show back on the road. She turned away and marched off deeper into the trees without looking behind to see if me and Magil were following her. Magil, of course, was already right behind her. His unhurried gait made it seem as though nothing much had happened at all. I jumped back up to my feet to chase after them. I'd be in for more trouble than I'd bargained for if I got separated from them. The dark forest inside the manor's perimeter seemed to go on forever, a labyrinth of trees and boulders. The manor itself loomed in the distance, glowering over the vast grounds, and hidden within was a veritable mountain of treasure just waiting for us. Lord Lynx was the noble who ruled the remote territory of Rigoria. He was also Kid's mortal enemy. We were there that night to steal a certain jewel he kept locked away in his most closely guarded vault, the Frozen Flame. The Frozen Flame was veiled in mystery. It was said to be imbued with uncanny energy, possessed of a beauty and clarity that made it a priceless treasure. Countless thieves had tried to steal of it, and none of them had come close to succeeding, nor had any of them escaped the manor alive. And now is our turn to try and sneak into this place of death. Led by a girl who had the ambition to make the impossible possible, a hunger for vengeance that drove her onward, and a desire for riches that could never be satisfied. As we pressed on through the tree-filled darkness, the shadows gave way at last, revealing the true extent of the vast mansion. This is cool. I don't know, it's something about the simple way this is done. Finally, say your prayers, Lynx, because we're coming for you. Keeping to the overgrowth in the shadows of the trees, we made our way around the manor walls in search of means of entry. Eventually, we came to a terrace overlooking the garden. Excuse me. There was no sign of any guards nearby. The only thing surrounding the manor was an uncanny stillness. Excuse me. Hiccups. This will lead us straight to the west wing, just as well. We don't have any business in the rest of the manor tonight, said Magil, gazing up at the dark building towering over us in the night. All right then, what are we waiting for? With that, Kid made to vault over the railing of the terrace. Stop! Magil hissed sharply. Remember what we're here for. Our main target is the vault and the frozen flame within it. We focus on this above all else. Your vengeance is a secondary concern. Agreed? Glancing over her shoulder, Kid replied with a reluctant, yeah, don't get your knickers in a twist. But we happen to run into him. I'm going to knock that Drogo's block off. Neither of you or anybody else is going to stop me. I guess Kid was going to get her way whether we liked it or not. Let's go, boys. The night is young. She cleared the railing with brightly hop and vanished inside the manor. I glanced towards Magil and nodded in silence. We followed Kid's lead and were soon inside Lord Lynx's lair. The darkness swallowed us whole. The corridor stretched off to the left and right from the terrace. It seemed equally dark and chilly in both directions. We decided to go right down the corridor. I always like to go left. We pressed on through the darkness, down the corridors that twisted and turned, snake-like this way and that. Everything around us was still and silent, and it felt strangely like we were being watched. It was as if countless... Wow. We continued creeping cautiously down the corridors. Kid moved proudly and stealthily like a cat stalking its prey, while the shadows, magical fog gliding swiftly and silently like a sinister breeze. We pressed on in the embrace of the wave weaver of fate. Rattle. Kid stopped us. There's something there. I listened carefully. Rattle, rattle. A figure appeared in the darkness on the other side of the corridor. It was a skeleton. We readied ourselves for a fight. We squared off against the skeleton. It threw the sword it was carrying to the ground and took a step forward. And it then twisted its body in a strange pose. Wait, is it doing what I think it's doing? It proceeded to contort itself further, adopting a shape that can only be described as highly suggestive. For a moment, no one knew quite how to respond. What the bloody hell? What should we... Wait, Kid, look at Madge. Madge seemed completely bewitched. There was no way he'd be used to in this state without going right. I'll attack. Come on then, I charged at the skeleton. I took advantage of the opening created when it raised its sword and kicked it as hard as I could in its lower spine. There was an almighty crack as the bone snapped and the skeleton fell in two. A split second later, Kid landed a massive blow on the top half. With its skull shattered, the skeleton immediately came to a halt. Huh. Guess you can fight after all. We had defeated the skeleton. So was the skeleton trying to, take Magil on a date or something? Kid turned her attention back to Magil. Can't believe this Drongo, though. Thwack! She brought her fist down hard on his head. Maybe that'll wake you up. Now, if we're done here, let's get a bloody move on. What was I... Ow! Wait a second. What is that? There was a leather bag on the ground, containing a sparkling gem. Now we're talking. Kid's face lit up with joy. Nice find, Serge. What a beaut. Kid snatched it away, leaving me to settle for the compliment. Whew! I'd take a few knocks, but I was all right. A scrape or two wouldn't stop me. Maybe you ain't such a drongo after all. Just goes to show any old weirdo can make something of themselves they put their mind to it. Kid's eyes glinted with mischief. We took the corridor leading from the left-hand side of the terrace, eventually arriving at the intersection with some stairs. The path to the right led down the stairs, and the path to the left was a dark passage. The main corridor continued on straight onward. Go down the stairs. Slowly crept down the staircase, ascending deeper into the blackness as we went. At the bottom, the path split. The way to the left continued onto an atrium that resembled a sort of plaza, while the path to the right was a winding passageway that trailed off in the darkness. Let's go to the left. Kid poked her head through the arch-shaped door and took a look around. Huh, it's big in here. Must be some kind of hall. We took a cautious look around, then entered one after another. The atrium was like a beautiful plaza, complete with a statue that doubled as a fountain. I wonder if you can lose in this game. Pillars and arches lined the walls, and in the center was a small pool of clear water above which the statue stood. On the other side of the room, I could see another arched entrance like the one we'd come through. Ooh, it's cold. Kiddo was scooping up the water from the fountain. Don't drink it. I went over to her and rested my hand on the edge of the marble basin, peering into the pool beneath. Shadows flickered under the water's surface. You reckon these fish are rare, as in valuable? Kid leaned over the edge. Couldn't see the bottom. I wondered how deep it was. The shadow of one of the fish grew larger and larger. Whoa! Sensing danger, Kid leapt back from the edge. Clack! A fish leaped from the water and snapped at her, its jaws bristling with razor-sharp teeth. Got piranhas. Its mouth closed shut on the air, where she'd only been moments before, and with a splash, the fish darted back under the water. Piranodons, deadly carnivorous fish with razor-sharp teeth and powerful jaws that could snap a monster's horn in half. You know, I've seen piranhas in like movies and stuff. I've always wondered, could they really eat a person as fast as they do in like the Roger Corman piranha movies? I mean, really? I feel like it's over-exaggerated. I feel like, I don't know if I believe maybe they would attack a person, but I don't know. I'll have to read into that. Staring in horror, I watched as dark shadows began to gather in what little of the pool I could make out. The piranodons must have detected prey. Soon the room was filled with the sound of splashing and snapping as the fish teemed at the water's surface. Bloody hell. Even Kid was uneasy. She took another step back. How many piranodons were in the pool? The thought of what could happen if they all leapt clear of the water and attacked at once crossed my mind. A bead of cold sweat rolled down my forehead. Suddenly, the water coming from the statue turned crimson and shot out a powerful jet that nearly touched the ceiling. Kid jumped back. This is going to make for a good D&D adventure. I just stood in shock, watching the torrent of water erupting from the statue. Scarlet waters continued to gush out from the fountain. The pool grew redder and started to overflow. We looked on, entranced. The spell was soon broken when we realized that the water was starting to flow faster and faster over the rim of the basin. Excuse me. The piranodons began to jump and snap at the water's surface with bloodthirsty glee. I was brought to my senses by the dull slapping of the sound of piranodons hitting the floor. Arg! A bolt of pain shot up my calf and I came close to fainting. I stood my ground as best I could, flicking away the piranodon that had bit me. Soon a horrible ring of shadows began to circle the water around me. I was surrounded. Let's get out of here, quick, there's an exit to the other side. I pointed at the doorway opposite where I'd come in. I tried my heart to rush across the red pool, seeing up great gouts of crimson water, but it was thick as blood and I found myself struggling to move. I felt sharp jabs of searing pain as countless piranodons snapped at my legs. The kid gritted her teeth in pain. Surge, we've got to do something before we get turned into mincemeat. What was I going to do? Let's kill him. What? You want to try and pick this little off one by one? Kid glared back at me, her face a picture of exasperated disbelief. Just gotta get the mage to cast Fireball. Don't be a bloody idiot, Surge. You want to die here? While I stood there, my mouth agape, a piranodon sank its teeth into my foot. A jolt of pain surged up my leg, making me jump. Go back the way we came. Kid, let's get out of here. In a panic, we splashed in the water back in the corridor where we came from. The fangs of the Pteranodon snapped at my leg and I felt a searing pain, but if I had to endure it, if I had any hope of reaching the entrance. Breathing heavily, I finally found myself back in the corridor outside. Whew! That was a close call. So the whole thing was a trap, eh? Talk about twisted. Lynx is even more of a sick bastard than I thought. I was about to say he wouldn't have had to be if he didn't have to guard against people like her breaking into his home. I thought better of it. Well, at any rate, I think we consider that a dead end. Let's go back. Defeated, we left the atrium. Something caused Kid to stop in her tracks. Hello, what do we have here? She pointed at the side of the entrance to the hall. I found myself face to face with a sculpture of an old man's face, with a truly phenomenal beard. The sculpture's eyes seemed to gleam with life. For a piece of marble, it seemed almost too realistic. It's a mouth of truth, announced Magil. An enchanted statue that can tell when you're lying. If it catches you, it'll bite your hand off. Magil kept his explanation simple so the kid wouldn't drift off before he got to the important part. Huh, so what's it doing here then? I suspect it's part of a greater mechanism. Stick your hand in its gob, do you? Righto, let's see what happens, shall we? With the mischievous glint in her eye, Kid darted over and stuck her hand in its mouth without a moment's hesitation. She stood there for a moment waiting, but it didn't take long for her to get bored. Nothing. Suddenly, I had an idea. Hey, Kid, who's the greatest thief who ever lived? Me, of course, you drong. Kid answered without a moment of hesitation, then suddenly, her face twisted with pain. The teeth of the marble sculpture clamped down on her hand. It bit me, she cried. Knock it off. Everyone knows that it's the true... The sculpture bit her again as soon as she spoke. You little... A cold sweat formed on Kid's forehead. The sculpture was tightening its grip. It won't let go until you say something true. Despite the obvious urgency of the situation, Magil was matter of fact as ever. Just say anything, Kid. Anything, as long as it's the truth. Obviously, Kid wasn't listening. Instead, she just kicked awkwardly at the statue. Oi, Beardy, let go of me bloody hand. She planted her feet either side of its mouth and tried her hardest to pull herself out. She heaved, kicked and stamped, grunted and strained. Then, finally, her hand popped free. I was taken aback by what I just witnessed, and I couldn't say a word. See, told you it was the truth. Kid raised her hand in air triumphantly as if to demonstrate. I could see the heavy bite marks. Sculpture hadn't come away from the struggle unscathed either. Kid's attempt to break free had left it cracked in several places. Magil pointed silently at part of it. I went to take a closer look and saw a pale, flesh-colored tongue. I expect we're supposed to put something there, commented Magil. Something? What exactly? I replied. I wonder if it's the diamond we found on the skeleton. Kid stood there for a moment, lost in thought, and then she started to unload all the knickknacks she'd been carrying. It was a strange collection of odds and ends pulled out from her pockets, her boots, and even from her braid. All right, Serge, now it's your turn to have a go at the stupid statue. Kid grinned at me, holding her assortment of knickknacks on the palm of both hands. I guess she decided that whatever further horrors the statue had in store, she'd rather not face them herself. Nice, Kid. Real nice. Grumbling to myself, I reached out to pick an item. I chose a centipede. Wow. I picked up the small lacquered tube of lipstick that seems like the most random. Without knowing quite why, I smeared it all over the statue's mouth. What are you, me lippy? Kid exploded with a fury at the side of the mouth of Truth's bright red lips. What are you getting so mad about? You don't even wear makeup. It's for marking our path to make sure we don't get lost. I didn't realize. Guess that would explain why you brought it with you. And what exactly is that supposed to mean? What's so funny about me having lipstick anyhow? Uh, nothing at all. It didn't take much to tell that this was the calm before the storm. You better buy me some more of that when we're done here. Yep, she was mad, all right. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just try something else. Kid gave me a downing glare in response to my apology. Take this seriously, or I'm through with you. I gulped and nodded in a panic, then reached out for the next item. I chose. Let's go with some grapes. Took a small bag of dried grapes. One by one, I fed them into the sculpture's marbled maw. Munch, munch. It actually ate them. That's enough, Surge. Those are my emergency ration situation. Kid snatched the bag from my hand. I still had the last grape, though, so I popped it into my mouth. It was absolutely delicious. They're not for you either, Sunshine, growled Kid, glaring at me. You gotta take this seriously, Surge, or should I leave you alone with Beardy here? She was clearly annoyed, but I hadn't worn her patience completely thin just yet. I decided to try something else. I chose... I picked up the peculiar piece of parchment, braced myself, I shoved it into the mouth of truth. Ha, nice one, Mr. Master Thief. You think it's a magic scroll or something? Kid doubled over with laughter. Guess that didn't work. The sheep chuckled. I pulled it out again. Oops! My hand slipped and the scroll unfurled. It was filled with strange symbols. Noticing the confused look in my face, Magil spoke up. It's a decoding chart used for the Imperial Guard's field reports. Huh. Well, it's all gibberish to me. Wouldn't be much of a code if it wasn't, would it? Kid muttered witheringly. I was too embarrassed to reply. Once I clawed back some of my pride, I attempted a recovery. You'll have to walk me through it sometime. She just pouted and looked away. Oh, so you can't read either. Boy, can I pick my moments. Fine, if you're not going to take this seriously, we're leaving you behind. Sometimes she could be cold as ice. I'd really done it now. She'd made to leave, but I grabbed her gently by the shoulder. Look, I'm not messing around. I'm sure this next idea is going to work. I'll believe it when I bloody well see it. Kid didn't seem convinced. The stakes were high. I looked again at her collection of knickknacks and chose. So this thing wants the truth. Let's go with the mirror. Took a small silver mirror. The sculpture stared impassively, its marbled beard still commanding my attention. I stuffed the mirror into its mouth. It didn't seem to be right for the job. Don't see any cavities. Yeah, not very funny. I give me my favorite mirror back before the thing chomps it into pieces. She lost her patience and snatched it off me. It was a rather nice mirror. I pictured her gaze into it as she braided her hair. Do you want to try something else? Asked Magically dryly as I chose. Wow. I took the file and placed it inside the marble sculpture. It didn't seem to be the right item for the job. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I was stunned. Mouth of Truth had started chewing the file. It was eating it. Arrgh! The kid screamed with rage. Me file, me lovely, scratchy, scrappy file. Can't believe you just let that happen. Crunch. You're in big trouble now, mate. She was clenching her fists and trembling with fury. Sorry, I'll get you another one, I promise. I also wanted to add, just don't hit me, but I thought better of it. I'll hold you to that, muttered Kid in a threatening grumble. If you're just going to feed the statue all of me stuff, we're done here. I promise that's not what I'm trying to do. You better not be, mate. Once again, she showed me her collection of shows. Centipede? Oh, that's is just, what are we doing walking around with a centipede in your pocket? Reeled back in disgust. This isn't your pet or something, is it? Don't be thick, Serge. It's a toy, not a pet. A toy? You could have picked something nicer. It is. Nice for giving people a nasty surprise. Teehee. She seemed to think this was an entirely reasonable attitude. Entirely reasonable to her, maybe. What was she doing with all this stuff? I reached for the rubber centipede. Trying not to think too hard about what I was doing, I stuck it into the mouth of truth, waiting for it to fall down the back of its throat. Serge, you'll pay for this, growled Kid, staring daggers at me. Yikes, I'll get it back. I promise. Still my nerve, I reached into the mouth, near the mouth. Suddenly my hair stood on end. It was, licking my hand. The giant uncanny tongue slopped back and forth across my fingers like I was a lollipop. I'm gonna puke. Keep it together, Serge. Do it for the centipede. Kid's support didn't do much to help me, but I somehow managed to pinch the centipede with the tip of my fingers and pulled it out. You must really love this thing. Not really. I just hate seeing myself go to waste. I'm sorry. What? Why had I even bothered? Well, no luck there either. Want to try something else? Asked Kid, almost like this was a game. Just wanted this to be over. I reached out the next item and I chose... we're going to try everything. Took a piece of thread, length of finely spun silk. It seemed like a good idea to shove it in, so I tried dangling it in the statue's mouth. Just like floss it. Watch yourself, that stuff ain't cheap. It's made by royal silkworms, I'll have you know. Kid watched me critically. The thread slipped deeper and deeper into the mouth of truth. And then I felt a slight tug. I tried winding it back carefully around my finger. At the end of it was a small piece of paper. Nice one, sir. It's got to be a clue. The kid's eyes lit up with delight. No said, try again. We stood in stunned silence. You licking piece of... Kid ripped up the paper in a rage and threw it away, then started kicking the mouth of truth. Magil was leaning against the wall, watching the spectacle in silence. I'm guessing that one wasn't the one then. What's next? I chose... What haven't I feel like... Picked up the size of a pitcher. Initially, I shoved it inside the mouth of truth, but nothing happened. Let the professional handle this, Serge. Kid shoved me aside. She was holding a match. Wait a second, you can't be serious. All the blood drained from my face. Deadly serious, mate. Before I could say another word, Kid lit the fuse. It's certainly a way to let everybody know that we're here. An explosion followed, accompanied by a puff of white smoke. When the smoke had cleared, the mouth of truth came into view once more, still intact, but now very badly cracked indeed. Not quite enough to knock it off its block. Should have bought a bigger one. Kid stood there with her arms folded, calmly commenting on the mayhem she just caused. What do you think we're doing? I can't believe you just set that thing off like that. Kid shot me a look. What do you mean? What else are you going to do with a bomb? She was a complete and utter liability. Well, any more ideas, Serge? Asked Kid breezily. I've tried everything, right? I lingered for a moment, but pulled my hand away. It didn't seem like any of them was what we were looking for. All right, let's just forget about it for now, muttered Kid, stowing all of our valuables. I was sure we'd find use for this stuff. Whatever, best get moving on, eh? Defeated, we left the atrium behind us. Okay. I feel like I thought maybe it would be like the item we found on the skeleton. Leaving the atrium behind us, we immediately found ourselves at the fork in the path. To the right of the passage, some stairs leading upwards. The dark passage continued on directly ahead of where we stood. We'll continue. Kid stopped in her tracks, sealing us with a hand behind her back. She drew her knife and stared into the darkness. We heard the clinking of metal from just up ahead. Goblin guards. It wasn't likely there'd be anyone else going for a nighttime stroll. around the manor wearing armor. Excuse me. I had picked up the situation pretty quickly and drew my knife, preparing for a fight. Kid gave me a sideways glance. You know something? You're starting to look like a real thief. Now you just need to walk the walk. She grinned. All right, Serge, Magil, let's get him. Kid leapt forward, confident as ever. It was like she thought nothing could go wrong. That's a big old goblin. There were 5 of them in total. They weren't any normal goblins, though. Having been well looked after in this political manner, palatal manner, they had grown to be even bigger than Magil. Each of them was carrying manor goblins' trademarks: a morning star consisting of a rod and a heavy spike, an iron ball, and a chin. Wait, or is it a flail? I never could remember. I didn't have time to think much more about it. A goblin came rushing at me. Best offense is good defense. The iron ball crashed in the stone tile where I stand only moments before crushing. I tried to stop with my knife, I would have been lucky to escape with a fractured skull. Having missed me, the goblin lost its balance. I plunged my knife through the back of its weapon. The goblin's face contorted with pain as it dropped its morning star. I knew that going for the hand would be more effective than trying to land a good hit on its fleshy porcine body. Let's go for the heart. My knife sank to the hilt of the creature's chest. I thought it was all over, but just then something hit me hard in the stomach, sending me flying. The goblin leered as it drew up to its full height. My knife, still buried deep in its chest, and thick drops of blood fell to the floor. How could it have survived? Much like me standing. Since the terror came over me, the goblin took a step forward. Suddenly, its giant frame wobbled, fell to one knee, and sank to the floor. Got him! Exhausted, I panted for breath. Finally got a notch in your belt, eh? Taunted the kid, going to my side. I wanted to say something, but was too exhausted. I was a mess. My body was screaming with pain, and I felt like I might pass out at any moment. If I took much more punishment from Lynx's minions, my night was going to be over pretty soon. Maybe you ain't such a drungo after all. It just goes to show any old weirdo can make something of themselves. They put their minds to it. Kid's eyes glinted with mischief. We left the atrium and continued down the path ahead. Wait, wasn't there 5 goblins? What happened to the other 4? Eventually, we came across an ornate door on the right-hand side. Something smelled fresh and pleasant. Flowers? Was it coming from inside? Well, I gotta know. We found ourselves in a tidy, welcoming room. The knickknacks and curos dotted around the place seemed to be well loved. The stately desk and the cozy-looking bed nearby, meanwhile, suggest the room's occupant was no stranger to luxury. Though the room was richly furnished, somehow it still felt awfully lonely. Kid took a quick look around before commenting. It's Lynx's girl's room. A half-written letter on the desk, and a teacup still warm, suggested that the lady of the manor was still nearby. But it didn't seem that anyone was here now. We decided to search the room. some charming flowers, a discarded cotton. Oh, you can see the character moving. A discarded cotton handkerchief, and a small bottle of perfume. Nothing that meant much to me, nor anything that seemed particularly valuable. Kids seemed to have the same impression and scanned the room, clearly not expecting to find anything. The only item of note was a small antique box, which bore a crest resembling a viper. I decided where to look next. So I'm going to get the little box, drawer. Maybe she's hiding under the sheets. The comfortable looking bed caught my attention. I patted it gently. Ye gods, it was even softer and cozier than it looked. I hope he doesn't smell it. That would be weird. I lifted the edge of the blanket. It was so light that I could barely feel it at all. How could it be so downy? How could it smell so nice? Suddenly, Kid kicked me right in the backside. What are you doing? The momentum sent me flying onto the bed. Kid stood over me, glowering menacingly. What are you doing? More like fondling the linen grin and looking like a loon. I wasn't grinning. She gave me a derisive grunt and turned her back on me. Pah! Could have fooled me. Why don't you sniff her bloody pillow while you're at it? That's what I said. Without warning, she grabbed me by the arm and yanked me off the bed and toward the door. We're leaving. You obviously can't be trusted in a girl's bedroom. True. I wasn't doing anything. You've got it all wrong. But she wasn't convinced. I was left with a distinct feeling I'd been branded for some kind of bed sniffing weirdo. The passage outside the room continued to our left and right. The path to the right led deeper into the darkness. Meanwhile, going left would take us to the atrium and another branch. Further into the darkness we go. We went down the dark passageway, eventually finding ourselves at the sturdy-looking, immaculate polished door. Kid sniffed at the air. Just as I thought. Something stinks here. I reckon we've found the beast's lair, lads. In the darkness, Kid's lips twisted in a grin that turned my blood cold. Kid opened the door and slipped inside. What beast is she talking about? It was Lynx's room, but he didn't seem to be around. The bugger's gone and scarpered because he heard I was coming. With that bomb, he probably heard you. There was something deeply unpleasant about the room. There wasn't anything unusual about the furniture and the fittings, but how they looked or how they were made. But taken as a whole, it felt discordant. Was this a reflection of Lynx, a seemingly ordinary facade that hid a disturbing truth only some could see? Let's see what we can find. The desk drawers, the paintings on the walls, the vase on top of the side table. We left no stone unturned. There didn't seem to be anything suspicious. But as I scanned the room, something unusual caught my eye. There was a pedestal in one corner with a significant-looking scarlet cloth drawn over it. I slowly raised my hand toward it. Be careful what you touch in here, warned Magil. I pulled my hand back timidly. But then the cloth flipped back to the floor without me laying a finger on it. Uh-oh. Oh, it's a mirror. Did that thing just move by itself? Exclaimed Kid, her eyes wide open with surprise. Gripped by curiosity, we moved in to see what it had been hiding. See, like I said, it was a large antique mirror. of an elaborately decorated style I had seen before. It wasn't the kind of thing that would normally seem out of place in an old manor like this, but yet... Wait, something ain't right, said Kid. Meanwhile, I was captivated by the gaze of the statue, Venus reflected in the mirror. A Venus? Suddenly, the eyes of the statue shone with light. What is your desire? What is your quest? I spoke with a voice that was crystal clear yet smoky and husky. The mirror, it's speaking, I stammered. Ah, a whispering mirror, muttered Magil, as if he had seen them 1,000 times before. What's one of those? Kid gave Magil a quizzical glance. Magical mirror in which a spirit dwells. The spirit can freely move between its own and other mirrors and will share its wisdom with those who ask. Perhaps we should ask it something. I decided to ask it something about that had been on my mind for some time. The main character is obsessed with this girl, so I want to know about Kid's past. Now, if you want to leave this place alive, you bloody don't. Kid's face turned red with anger. Your wish is my command, responded the mirror, ignoring Kid, who grabbed me by the collar and was complaining. Vociferously? Vociferously. I've never seen that word before. The image in the mirror rippled, and the reflection of the statue shook. And the mirror's surface grew darker. The blackness gave way to a scene in Regoria. Shadowy figures appeared one by one. There was a young woman surrounded by several children. They were all dirty, their clothes ragged and worn, but they all laughed as they played together. And then the scene was drowned in flames, and a troop of armed men appeared. The men dragged the woman away. The children vanished one by one into the inferno. Jeez. The focus shifted to one of the children, a girl. She was standing with her back to the flames. Her tears leaving tracks through the soot on her face as she howled at the night sky. The girl's right eye was narrow like a cat's. Stop it! Kid screamed. The image in the mirror grew faint. Kid stared at the ground, her hands balled into tight fists. The room was dominated by silence. Worried about her, I broke the silence. Kid, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. She spun around her heel and made for the door. Wait! I cried and sheepishly darted after her. The corridor stretched out beyond the door. We retraced our steps. Eventually we came across an ornate door on the left-hand side. It was Riddell's room, Link's daughter. Let's go inside. We found ourselves in a tidy, welcoming room. The knickknacks and curios dotted around the place seemed to be well loved. The stately desk and cozy-looking bed nearby we mile suggests the room's occupant was no stranger to luxury. Though the room was richly furnished, somehow it felt awfully lonely. This is the room I was just in. A half-written letter on the desk and the teacup still warm suggests the lady of the manor was still nearby. And windows slightly ajar, bringing in some much-needed fresh air. Seeing that someone had been here only moments ago. Let's come back later. We left Riddell's room for now. Suddenly, Kid stopped in her tracks. I'll be right back. I need to get some water. What I'm drinking is I'm drinking a Monaco Vanilla Cream Crush, a vodka cocktail. And with all this reading, my throat is getting rather dry. But I will be back in like 10 to 20 seconds. All right. Something's there. We can look around and see what it was. There was nothing behind us or in front of us. Where could it be? And then, just as I was trying to figure it out, the wall began to move. A rectangular section opened up and swung around, revealing two enormous goblins clinging to the back. It was like something from one of those stories about assassins sneaking around in an old castle. You goblins! Screamed Kid. They definitely looked like goblins to me. Maybe a touch on the large side. I think they kind of look like orcs. There were four in total, the two in front of us and the two that appeared behind us, cutting off our path of escape. Madra rushed towards the two behind us. Meanwhile, Kid left the two in front, holding her knife in both hands. I drew my knife and rushed to Kid's side. Crash! The spike ball of a goblin's morning star smashed into the ground, crushing the stone flooring. Kid nimbly leapt up into the air, evading the attack and landing on the goblin's exposed hand. She swung upward toward the goblin's head, plunging her knife into its left eye. Then she flipped backwards and stood ready for the next attack. That was Kid's style. Flowed like a butterfly, sting like a bee. The next goblin charged in, swinging its morning star towards me. Let's not get cocky. I jumped back to keep my distance. For a moment I thought about copying Kid's trick, but I don't have the confidence to pull it off. I was better off keeping an eye on my enemy and doing things my own way, though I wish I could fight like her. The goblin pulled the iron ball out of the floor and came at me, swinging it overhead. I deflected the goblin's driving strike up towards the ceiling and aimed an almighty blow to its face with my foot. My momentum unbroken, I turned full circle in the air and landed perfectly back at my feet, immediately moving in to thrust my dagger deep into its chest. Ka-chink! The blade sank up to the hilt. What the heck? Sensing danger, I jumped back. The goblin's hand grabbed me uselessly at the air where I'd been standing. Had I been there a moment later, it would have caught me. I was dealing with a monstrously persistent foe. By having spent the last of its strength, the goblin lost its balance and collapsed to the floor, where it succumbed to its wounds. I realized that everything was quiet. The fight had ended. That must have been the last of the Wait a second. What is that? There was a leather bag on the ground, containing a sparkling gem. Hey, we've got two of those now. Now we're talking. Kid's face lit up with joy. Nice find, Serge. What a beaut. Kid snatched away, leaving me to settle for the compliment. I was a mess. My body was screaming with pain. I felt like I might pass out at any moment. If I took much more punishment from Lynx's minions, my night was going to be over pretty soon. I feel like we're getting some repeat stuff here. Maybe you ain't such a drone go after all. Just goes to show any old weirdo can make something out of themselves. They put their mind to it. Kid's eyes glinted with mischief. The passage outside the room continued to our left and to the right. Going right would take us to Lynx's room, meanwhile going to the left would take us to another branch. Well, we've already been in Lynx's room and he wasn't in there. My cat's going crazy. We continue down the corridor until we reach the intersection. There's a left turn in the corridor leading to some stairs going upward. The corridor also goes straight towards the entrance to a large plaza-like atrium. The passage to the stairway was short. With Kid leading the way, we started to climb the narrow staircase. At the top, we found another intersection. Taking the corridor to the right would lead us to a dead end, with the large door, while the way to the far left led to the terrace. The narrow side passage in front of us was open. Check out this large door. We continue onward past where the stairs and side passes emerge into the main corridor. We found ourselves in front of some ornate double door. Kid gently pushed the heavy doors open and peeked inside. Doesn't look like anybody's in here. Seemed to be the main hall of the manor. There was a massive table, beautiful decorations on the walls, and thick columns decorated with sculptures of birds and beasts. Fixed to the wall in the back towered a tremendous pipe organ, like a burnished black mountain. Dozens of candles provided a dim, flickering light, sending the corners of the room dancing in and out of shadow. Several enormous portraits glowered down from high on the walls. Were these members of Lynx's family? I was busy staring at a painting depicting a young husband and wife when I realized their eyes had turned to look right at me. Some Scooby-Doo stuff going on down here. Okay, they had. Don't worry, this isn't about to turn to some dumb ghost story. It just looked that way because the way the flickering light of the candles reflected against the glossy oiled paints. Obviously. Probably. This place gives me the creeps. Get a load of all these ugly mugs. Nothing for us here. Let's look somewhere else. Neither Magil nor I had any objections. We left the halls and returned to the corridor. Eventually, it led us to an intersection. There were some stairs going down, and to the right, a dark side passage. If we kept going straight on, we'd arrive at the terrace. Let's check out this terrace. After a short walk down the corridor, the terrace came into view. Oh, okay, this is where we enter. We return to the quiet terrace overlooking the garden, and then... Alright, Serge, you're finally starting to learn how to get your hands dirty, ain't you? I guess people really can change if they put in the effort. Kid's eyes shone with an impish playfulness. Well, she hadn't seen anything yet. We should go back inside. We're not here for fun, muttered Magil. Well, he said that, but let's go back inside. So I went left. So let's go right this time. A short way along the corridor, running from the right-hand side of the terrace, we found an ancient-looking door, again on our right. Kid pressed an ear against it, listening for any signs of life. Dead quiet, don't reckon there's anybody in there. A likely story. In we go. Kid stilted her breath and reached for the handle. The door wasn't locked. It swung slowly open. What's this room supposed to be? Place is a dump. Kid had poked her head in through the door, taking a quick peek to see if there was anyone inside, and was disappointed by what she found. The room was large and littered with a peculiar-looking machinery and knickknacks, all of which were covered in dust, and had seemingly been dumped there haphazardly. Everything looked like it had been there rusting for a very long time. The ends of the room were completely dark. It was impossible to tell just how big it was. Excuse me. Or even what the walls and floors looked like. Seeing the manor's inhabitants had turned the old clock tower into a makeshift storage space for some time ago. I stepped warily inside. Leave that alone. Looked over towards Magil and saw a kid trying to pull something from the shadows. It was a huge sword that appeared to be very old indeed. You don't need that old bludgeon. It'll only get in the way. As much of an antique as it was, it won't fetch much on the market in that condition. Yeah? Reckon it might, you know. There's plenty of collectors who love old bits of junk. Well, some old bits of junk. Pouting, Kid left the sword where she stood. At least she put it back down gently. It was then we heard a voice from the shadows. And what exactly are you doing here? I just about jumped out of my skin. Who's there? Kid and Magil turned to face the voice, ready for a fight. A wizened crone emerged from the shadows. She was hunched over and wore a hood draped over her face. I could tell at a glance that she wasn't just old, she was positively ancient. It's just some doggery old bag. What do you think you're doing, sneaking up us on like that? Kid's shoulders relaxed and the tension left her body. Magil, however, continued to give the woman a piercing stare. Ooh, what impish little things you are. Here to visit a friend, perhaps? Not in the dead of night, I suspect. The crone narrowed her eyes. Let's get a closer look at you. Ah, yes, you must be here to get your revenge on Lynx. How did she... My heart jumped. She seemed to know exactly who we were. We were in trouble. What if she sounded the alarm? Well, I mean, we also set off a bomb, so there's that. We'd have to give up the treasure and run for our lives. What are we gonna do? Well, let's own up to it. So what if we are? Kid narrowed her eyes right back at the crone. What is it to you if we're getting our revenge on old Lynx boy? You want to do something about it? You never change, do you? The crone chuckled madly, her small frame shaking. Ah, the boldness of youth, yes, that's the spirit. You what? Kid looked at the crone, completely confused. I was a little less mystified. What the heck are you on about? Oh, it must have been 4 or 5 years ago. It was when around that innocent young thief stole into the manor, looking to singe Lord Lynx's whiskers. She couldn't have been much older than 10 now that I think of it. Shocked, my gaze turned to Kid. A wet glint had appeared in Kid's eyes, but her glare was thin like ice. It certainly felt as if the temperature in the room had suddenly dropped below freezing. The chuckle, the crone continued her story, pretending not to have noticed the change in mood. She was an orphan, you know. Came after Lynx to avenge a woman who'd love her like her own daughter. But all the vengefulness in the world couldn't change the fact that she was only a little girl. She was no match for Lynx's men, sadly, and they quickly captured her. Lynx is the kind of man one would fear to have for an ally, never mind a foe. Had it not been for the timely assistance of a friend of hers, the girl would have certainly been executed.
The way the people of the manor told it, the very shadows pitied the girl and rushed in to spirit her away. Wonder how much of that tale could be true. I have nothing but sympathy for those who know failure, of course. You can't win all the time. And sometimes, against all the odds, fate really could be foiled, and clockwork of history sent into disarray. No, the ones I have no patience for are those who do not recognize their failure, or who fail and choose to give up as a result. The crow looked up from under her hood and stared Kid directly in the face and grinned. Kid's anger faded, giving way to dumbfounded expression. If you wish to steal the jewel from Lynx, if you truly wish to triumph, you'll have to let go of a treasure of your own, Kid. For as long as you cling on to it, the hands of your clock will never move. They'll stay exactly where they came to rest all those years ago. Who are you? Me? Why, I'm just an old bat, like you said. I do apologize. I must have taken a lot of time with your babbling. I'll leave you in peace. Oh, before I go, the crone turned to face me. You seem to be injured, young man. If you wish, I can take a look at your wounds. With all the attention suddenly turned towards me, I panicked a little. I'll ask my boss. I wasn't sure how to reply. Kid? I looked to Kid for an answer. She's asking you, not me. I'm not your bloody mom. If the reply, I turned back to the old crone, only to see if she'd vanished. What the heck was that? Kid couldn't believe her eyes. How could the crone just vanish? We won't find any answers here. Time to move on. Nigel brought us back down to earth, motionless as always. It almost seemed as if he thought nothing had happened at all. Yeah, I guess you're right. We left the room. Interesting. Give my voice a break for a second. See that we got 4 people watching. Hello? Alright, let's continue. The door led back into the corridor, which stretched off to the left and right. Right where lay the depths of the manor, while the way to our left led to the terrace. Continuing down the corridor, we came across a rather sturdy-looking door on our left. A little further on stood a stairway leading upward. Well, this door clearly meant to keep something safe. There ain't some kind of treasure behind it. My name ain't Kid. Yep, the smell of cold, hard cash, all right, she muttered to herself as she began to inspect the door more closely. Let's have a look. What, am I stupid? Of course it's bloody locked. Kid had tried the door handle a few times before giving it a grumpy kick. Do we not have lock picks? 2 of us are thieves. Oh, that explains it. Bloody door's got a magic barrier on it, and the bloody barrier's got a barrier of its own to boot. It'll take more than me putting the boot to get through all that. I see, and then unless we find a key, we don't have any hope of getting inside. Reckon I can handle a key hunt, so if it's that idiot Lynx who's hidden it, if we can find his room, I'll stiff it out in 2 seconds flat. You just watch. There's a little more we could do here, so we decided to look elsewhere. The corridor ended at the front of some stairs. With the kid in the lead, we headed upwards. It was dark and the stairwell was narrow. We watched our footing carefully as we climbed. The stone of the steps was worn, smooth with age, and I lost count of how many there were as we spiraled onward and upward. An awful sense of foreboding haunted me. I had no idea why, but I felt as though we were marching to the gallows. When we arrived at the top of the stairs, we were greeted with an old heavy door looming in silence. All was deathly silent, and still, clammy air aided the sense of ominous apprehension. Something's very wrong here, I muttered without thinking. I hear cursed whispers from beyond the door, Magil added, doing nothing to lift the mood. Ah, grow up, will ya? Kid shot back at us derisively. She was already examining the door. Well, it ain't locked, and I don't hear anyone inside. All right, here it goes. Kid tried the handle. The door opened, and with a slow, heavy swing, revealed the lay beyond. What lay beyond? The lay beyond. Jeez. It was a small, cylindrical room that appeared to be the inside of one of the stone towers. It was completely deserted, and there were no windows. What's this supposed to be? Something about this place gives me creeps. Standing in the doorway, Kid seemed suddenly taken aback. There might be something in there. Let's take a closer look. Closer look at a bloody empty room? Might as well, I guess. We did climb all them stairs. Kid stepped through the door, grumbling under her breath. I scanned the room and then noticed something on the floor. Is it a key? The flagstones were covered in dozens of narrow scratches, and in places there were thick black stains. Something in the stains spoke of the horror that no amount of scrubbing would ever wash away. A malice and sadness beyond imagining. Something's written here. Crouching in front of the wall, Magil was inspecting some brownish markings. That looked like more of the same stains. Someone's carved letters in the walls and scrambled them using blood magic? Kid had gone over to take a look. Looks pretty old. Hard to read, too. Some of it's been worn away. Let's see. I cannot hold out much longer. My only hope now is to leave the Archaean signet in this room. The Achaean signet, there's no R. Suddenly, the door slams shut. We jumped to our feet with a start. From above us, we heard the unsettling creaking sound. The walls and floor began to tremble. Ah! What the heck's going on? Kid's eyes darted around the room as she desperately tried to figure out what was happening. The creaking sound from above continued. The ceiling moved ominously closer. Up there! Uh-oh. Ah! We've walked right into a bloody trap, Kid bit her lip. Gotta do something fast. We don't have time to sit and think about this. Yarg! Kid sprang at the door like an arrow, slamming into his shoulder first. It was far too heavy, and her light frame bounced right off it. Damn it! Magil raced towards the door like the wind, smashed it with a ferocious force. It made a creaking sound and shook from the impact, but stood firm. Desperately, I hurled myself at it too. The shock of the impact rushed through my body, but it was no good. Meanwhile, the resting creaking from above continued, as did the ceiling. An inexorable journey downward. To make matters worse, now countless blades were popping in and out. Surge, Magil! This is gonna take the three of us. Time at our blows, we all charged the door once. Twice. A third time. And the door was open. We were collapsed in the heap of the corridor outside. What? Behind us, we heard the sound of the bladed ceiling grinding up the stone floor, the tower room floor. The metallic scraping noise made was awful. We could only look at the silent horrors that fate so narrowly evaded. The machinery continued for a short while. before slowly coming to a stop. It seemed to be the ceiling trap had finally finished its grisly work. Bugger me, talk about a nasty surprise. It is some sort of execution chamber? Magil continued, seeming to be deep in thought. In any case, the writing mentioned Akia. Yeah, what's that all about? I asked. The Akia Dragoons, the elite knightly order, serving the General Viper, who once governed the territory of Galesborough to the west. Formerly Knight Order, I should say. My headphones are dying. Give me a second. I gotta plug them in. And then we're going to use the good old Joy-Cons. Crud, the sound isn't working. Give me a second. Technical difficulties. Give me a moment. All right, there we go. Thanks for the history lesson, Mag. Kid rose to her feet, patting off the dust. Too bad we're not here for fairy tale nights. Come on. We've got a lot more exploring left to do. Magil shrugged silently, and we headed back to the stairs. With the kid in the lead, we headed downstairs. We went down the stairs and continued straight ahead, eventually coming across a sturdy-looking door on our right. The corridor continued further back toward the terrace. Oh yeah, that's right. This is the door that was locked and protected. Continue down the corridor, I guess. We continued down the corridor, eventually coming across the door on our left. The corridor continued on back toward the terrace. So I think we need to go back to... Let's continue on. I think we need to go back to Lennox's room. After a short walk down the corridor, the terrace came into view. So we're going back to the left side. We took the corridor leading to the left-hand side of the terrace, eventually arriving at the intersection with some stairs. Trying to remember where. Well, we don't want to go down the stairs. Let's go towards the main hall. We continue onward past where the stairs and the side of the passage merged into the main corridor. We found ourselves in front of some ornate double doors. This is the main hall of the manor. Kid gently pushed the heavy doors open and peeked inside. Looks like the coast is here. We stepped into the main hall. Okay, this is where we've been before. Dozens of candles provided a dim, flickering light, sending the corners of the room dancing in and out of shadow. Several enormous portraits glowered down from high on the wall. Were these members of Lennox's family? Alright, we've read this already. We left the hall and returned to the corridor. Eventually, it led us to an intersection. It's a stair going down to the right, a dark passage. Okay. We headed down the side passage. At the end of it, we came to an old, immaculately polished door. I don't. What's in here? Looks like a study. The room was lit by moonlight coming through the long, slender windows, slanting down in pale beams through the darkness. Oh, we've not been in here yet. It was pretty big for a study, with an immaculate antique desk dominating the center. There were rows of bookshelves lined with thick, dusty old tomes. The wall of the rear room was decorated with paintings, and the shelves of vases and painted plates stood before it. They all seemed to be curos from foreign lands. Let's check the desk. I went over to the desk and started searching in the drawers. There I found a neatly arranged set of pens, ink bottles, and other writing materials. Nothing of interest, in other words. A small portrait on the desk caught my eye. It was a picture of a young girl with a gentle smile on her lips. Who was she? That's the girl Lennox adopted. If you ask me, it wasn't because he was looking to help the needy, said Kid, peering over my shoulder. She wrinkled her nose into saying, not even a looker. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It wasn't a loud knock, but the bottomless silence of the night might as well have been a thunderclap. Kid and I stood bolt upright and turned toward it. Magil, meanwhile, hid in the shadows, drifting away like smoke. Panicked, I whispered to Kid, let's hide behind the door. Quick, get behind the door. We kept our bodies low as we silently and swiftly made for the back door and where the shadows would keep us hidden. We pressed our backs to the wall and did our best to still our breathing. Slowly, the door opened. Flickering candlelight spread from the door with a warm glow. I held my breath, but it seemed that whoever it was didn't mean to come in. They simply stood there. Strange. I thought I heard something. But the lord of the manor is away, of course. Why would there be anyone in here? I have to get over my nerves. Everything was fine until we heard the news of that port was on the move. The figure quietly closed the door, plunged in the room, back in the darkness. The voice trailed off to a whisper. We remained motionless, keeping our ears pricked for any sign of unwelcome return. All we heard were footsteps moving away. So poor has made its move. Magil emerged from the shadows, contemplating the news we'd overheard. Kid, if the rumors are true, we might as well find ourselves in a very difficult situation. This seemed to set her thinking too. Poor was a powerful nation that ruled the southern continent. Oh, so it's not a person. I'd heard it was a prosperous land whose recent and sudden development had pushed it far ahead of its neighbors. Which made me wonder, what would its inhabitants want here, out in the sticks? They couldn't be after the frozen flame too, could they? As valuable as it might be, a jewel was just a jewel in the grand scheme of things. I couldn't imagine it being an item of national interest. I mean, ultimately it was just a pretty rock, right? It's not a boulder, it's a rock. Let them do what they want. If everyone's busy playing soldiers, they won't be bothering us. Come on, we've got things to do. She headed for the door. We left the room and made our way back down the side passage. We made our way back down the dark passage leading from the study. Eventually we arrived at an intersection. Some stairs led downward, and the corridors branched left and right, with the right branching leading back toward the terrace. Let's go back down the stairs. Maybe the water is dispersed. Slowly we crept down the staircase, descending deeper into blackness as we went. At the bottom, the path split. To the left continued to the atrium that resembled a sort of plaza, while the path there was winding patches that trailed off into darkness. A plaza. You've got to be kidding me. Shouted Kid, glaring at me. Are you telling me to swim through a bloody lake of predatons? Yeah, you can count me out, man. How am I supposed to charm my victims with the big chunks bitten out of me? I guess she had a point. Here's a better plan. Why don't we go back to Beardy and try sticking something down its gob? Sure enough, she pulled out her bundle of odds and ends. Do I have to? I asked, knowing the answer. It's probably just, well, this kid only glared at me in response. My hand hovered for a moment before I finally reached for something. I feel like I've tried everything. I guess we could try another explosive. Picked up the sizable pitcher and anxiously I shoved it in the mouth of the truth, but nothing happened. Let the professionals handle this surge. Kid shoved me aside. She was holding a match. Wait a second, you can't be serious. Deadly serious, mate. Before I could say another word, Kid lit the fuse. An explosion followed, accompanied by a puff of white smoke. When the smoke had cleared out, the truth came into view once more. Still intact, but now very badly cracked indeed. Not quite enough to knock it off its block. Should have brought us a bigger one. Kid stood there with her arms folded, calmly commenting on the mayhem she just caused. What do you think you're doing? I can't believe you just set that thing off like that. Kid shot at me. What do you mean? What else you gonna do with a bomb? She was a complete and utter liability. Well, any more ideas, Serge? I've tried everything. Right? I lingered for a moment but pulled my hand away. It didn't seem like any of them was what we were looking for. Alright, let's just forget about it for now. I was sure we'd find a use for the stuff. Whatever. Best get moving, eh? Defeat, we left the atrium behind us. Leaving the atrium behind us, we immediately found ourselves at the fork in the path. To the right was a passage to some stairs leading upward. Dark passage continued on directly ahead of where we stood. It's going to be the piranhas, right? Ooh. Kid stopped in her tracks, her senses clearly tingling. Madge and I were right behind her and immediately realized that something was very wrong. We hear a faint whispering, as if a spell were being cast. And a faint light was emanating from a monster sitting crouched on the flagstones ahead. Ah! A long bony finger traced strange shapes on the tiles. A daemon! Pulled out my knife, readying myself to confront it. As I stood there unable to decide what to do, the demon's tail lashed out like a whip and struck my legs. It was only a light blow, but it stung just the same. The demon gave me a wicked, taunting grin. Let's stab it. Made a dash to one side of it. Lifted my dagger as I went. It tore through the creature's paper thin skin. But it was only a flesh wound. Bloody things laughing at us. And it was too, chuckling maniacally in a way that made me deeply uneasy. I raised my knife again, prepared myself for the worst. My eyes met the demon's, and it was then I saw it. There was a twinkle behind them. I couldn't tear my gaze away. Its chuckle grew into a belly laugh as it peered to the very depths of my soul. And then, just like that, it muttered a few words and melted into the shadows. Where seconds before it had towered over us, now not a trace of it remained. What was that all about? Why would it just disappear mid-fight? Guess it had someplace else to be. Kid gave a shrug, doing her best to release a feign of indifference. But I couldn't shake the sense of unease that had filled me. I peered uneasily at the darkness into which the vile creature had disappeared. What a mess. My body was screaming with pain, and I felt like I might pass out at any moment. If I took much more punishment from Lynx's minions, my night might be over pretty soon. Yeah, we've had this line of dialogue already. Alright. I need to take a quick bathroom break. About an hour and 40 minutes into this thing. So I'm hoping to finish it in the next 20 to 30 minutes, hopefully. So we'll see. polished door. Lynx's room. Check in here again. Kid opened the door and slipped inside. I knew he wouldn't be here. We started looking for any signs to the key to the vault. Maybe she can help, said Kid, thrusting her chin towards the mirror. I gently pulled the soft cloth from the mirror and stared at the glass. Now we're getting somewhere. It was dark like the surface of a lake at night. What is your design? Where's this key at? Do you know where the key to the vault is? The mirror's reflection rippled and changed to reveal a room with numerous bookshelves. A deep and sonorous voice spoke. You'll find the key in the place where I've revealed, the study. It is inside the book with a purple cover in the furthest bookshelf from the door. The image of the study vanished from the mirror and the voice went silent. It appears the spirit has left for another mirror, commented Magic. The study then. As I made to leave the room, a low voice rumbled through the air, stopped me dead in my tracks. Beware, he knows. Was it the voice of the mirror again? What did it mean? Ask me what it means. Hurry up, or we're leaving you behind, Serge, called Kid from outside. Flustered, I rushed after her. Corridor stretched out beyond the door. We retraced our steps. Let's continue on our way. Okay, that's right. Yeah. Something tells me I'll find Let's do the stairs. Let's go left. This is where we saw the old lady. Any old ladies in here? No. No kindly old dears who knows more than they're letting on, lurking in the shadows. Come on, come out wherever you are. Boy, old lady, show yourself. Silence spoke volumes. I think it's the study I gotta go back to. What's that? She dyed her fingers at something in the darkness. Straining my eyes, I could see a pale white bundle of something shaking in the shadows. That's strange. Moved in front of Kid, tried to get a better look. And suddenly, the strange presence started crawling across the floor at unbelievable speed. I didn't have time to brace myself. The white figure reached my foot It is a skeleton. Skeleton, I said, face to face, its empty eye sockets staring straight at me, or seeming to at least. Let's tackle him. Yard! There was a crunching sound of clattering of bones, and the skeleton was knocked back by the blow. Its body split clean in two at the waist. Better look next time, muttered Kid dryly. As in response, the skeleton's upper body picked itself up from the ground, turning its skull towards me. Balancing its body with its left hand, it then pulled the skull from its head with its right hand. What's it doing? It's throwing its head at me. And I dodge. Whoosh! The skull sailed past me as I quickly stepped aside. Ow! Only to mash into the kid who was standing right behind me. That bloody hurt. What'd you move out of the way for? She returned the favor by thumping me in the back of my head. Nigel walked over where the skull laid on the floor and stamped on it, shattering into pieces. The rest of the skeleton collapsed, falling apart with a clatter. It didn't move after that. Alright. We're done here. Let's keep following the corridor, and I think the study will be on our left. Right? Yeah, the study. Let's get inside. Let's find this key. Light on her feet as always, Kid moved into the center of the room. Where'd the mirror say it was again, Serge? She's asking me, how am I supposed to remember? I know it was one of the purple ones. I didn't think it was supposed to be Let's see here. The stricken Neo up was flung into stasis, making an emergency jump without deploying phase shift. Major engine damage. Output is at 30% of operating norms. 6 charges remain in the anti-particle cannon. Shields effective at 16 sectors. L-spin response on the starboard stern. Enemy vessel incoming. Hurry, it's the awakening. Skirmishers make ready for our last stand. Let's try the other. Almost certain it's one of the purple ones. Aha! Got it! Page was hauled out, and inside was an old key decorated with strange symbols. Nailed it! Nice one, Serge. Kid snatched the key from inside of the book. Right, time to finally get a look at this treasure. Haven't got what we came for. We left the study. Where do we use the friggin' key? I decided to get a map instead of trying to picture it. Following the corridor. No ladies. Oh. This should do it. Kid slipped the key we'd found into the lock. Awesome. Lines of magical light flashed across the surface of the door and vanished as various magical barriers were dispelled. Up, down, left, right, blue, red, green, every color under the sun. And then all was quiet. In the darkness, the man returned. Right. We were in. With a creak and the heavy door gently swinging open. As soon as we saw what was inside, I gave a kid stepped inside. Whoa, we hit the mother lode. Out of the darkness loomed a veritable mountain of gold, silver, priceless works of art, and exquisite trinkets. Kid looked as if she were on the verge of drooling at the sight of it all. What thief wouldn't have been? After all, this was the kind of hoard that few people would ever come across in their lifetime. The smallest fraction of this vast mound of riches would have seen even the most careless spendthrift set for life. Our goal is the frozen flame. I ignored the rest. Ignore the rest, Magil spoke, with an icy dedication to our mission. He had not even batted an eyelid at the sight of that greeted us. Yeah, I know. She was disappointed, of course, but she soon set about scanning the room for the object of our hunt. Wait, is this it? Look at that pedestal over there. I didn't see what Kid was pointing at. There it was, a small yet perfectly formed jewel that gave off a pale red light, a jewel that looked like a flickering fire suspended in time. The frozen flame! Silently, Magil walked toward the pedestal and called out. You're right, this is Linux we're dealing with after all. We could very well be trapped. We should be on our guard. We need to be quick about this. Oh, fine, have it your way, grumbled Kid, looking away. Magil examined the pedestal for a short while, then paused. We were wise to be cautious. Placed his left hand across the base of the pedestal, he muttered an incantation, drawing quick sigils in the air with his right hand. Some glyphs appeared on its smooth surface, and for a moment blazed brightly. There, now we can proceed. Magil calmly reached out and grabbed hold of the red jewel. Surge and his friends obtained the frozen flame. Phew! Managed to get away with what we came for without anything horrible happening to us. Why would you say that before leaving? I breathed a heavy sigh of relief and turned to get to Magil. He was staring silently at the jewel in his hands. Oh, Magil, we did it. Let's get out of it. Before I could finish, the frozen flame crumbled to dust. It was a fake. Lynx must have been keeping the real one somewhere safe. What? Suddenly, a siren rang out. The room was flooded with light, and metal bars slammed down in front of us. I turned with a gasp to see Kid frozen, an ornate crown in her hands, a wide-eyed look of awkward shock on her face. Interesting. So it's like the Cave of Wonders, where if you take what you're not supposed to, you get trapped. Metallic parrots in the four corners of the room suddenly came to life, flapping their wings and screeching. Rah! Thieves! Thieves! We're in trouble. These things are going nowhere, said Nigel, inspecting the bars covering the door. Although, to look at him, you would have thought there was anything wrong. Which way? Which way? The parrots, the vault, the vault! Worried the voice in the distance. The manor guards were coming. Kid dived behind the pile of gold coins. Find somewhere to hide! In a panic, I looked around the room. There was a large chest sitting wide open next to a pillar. I rushed to empty it out. Then plunged head first and closed the lid. Good Lord! Captain, there's no sign of anyone in here. No sign. Strange, peculiar. No one has ever escaped before. None has ever fled the mousetrap's clutches. None. I gently pushed up the lid of the chest and peeked through the gap. There were 5 goblins wearing suits of armor, unlocking the gate, about to make their way inside. One of the goblins looked around the room, jerking his neck as he peered into the shadows. Captain. What if it actually was a mouse this time? Chef was grumbling about mouses the other day, Cap. A mouse? A rodent? A rat? Would a teeny tiny thing like that really have sprung the trap? Replied a stocky, plump-looking goblin who must have been the captain. He didn't seem convinced. That was when I heard a strange, but oddly familiar sound from the corner of the room. Squeak, squeak! It was coming from where Kid was hiding. Startled, the troop of goblins stopped and looked at each other. For a moment, none of them spoke. Eventually, the goblin captain rubbed his chin through his jowls and offered his thought. Mouses. I'm sure Chef wouldn't complain about cats. Meow. Meow. Again, silence. The goblins all looked at each other. Speaking of cats, I'm minor being weird. Funny you should say that, Captain. The way I heard it, there weren't any mouses or cats. It was a hecarim? An awkward silence followed. In my mind's eye, I could see Kid racking her brains to work out what a hecarim was. I smell a rat, by which I mean a thief. Following the captain's lead, the guards reached for their weapons, and then, heck. Listen, it really is a hecarim. By heck, that proves it. The goblin guards grinned and nodded to each other. Cheeky little devil, surprised me there. Let's get out of here, boys. The goblins filed out of the vault, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Ah! What? You sneaky little buggers, roared Kid, leaping out from behind the pile of gold coins. You're one to talk, thief. Brandishing their weapons menacingly, the goblins moved slowly forward, forcing Kid into a corner. Well, yeah, we gotta save her, right? I had to save Kid. There was no way I was going to abandon a friend in need. Even if it meant facing off against a group of 5 goblin guards, I'd find a way to come out on top. I mean, it's 3 on 5. It's not hopeless. Drew the knife from my belt and left in the middle of the room. Hey, snot for brains! Over here! The goblins all turned to look at me at the same time. 10 beady, cruel little eyes were staring daggers at me. In a hurry to die, are we? I gulped and wondered if making a run for it might have been a better plan of action after all. Humans are so stupid, the goblin captain chuckled and licked his teeth. Yep, this one's got a death wish, alright. Why else would he be so stupid to come after Lord Lennox's treasure? That's a first. Being called dumb by a bloody goblin. Trying to act tough when you're crying like your mom later on. Crying to your mom later on. Judging by Kid's response, she wasn't feeling massively threatened. And you tell her it was Kid who kicked your teeth in. So you're a kid, are you? The sneaky little slippery little thief we've heard so much about. The goblin narrowed his eyes. Lord Lennox will be thankful for now until my retirement when I bring him your head on a silver platter. The goblin captain pulled his morning star from his waist and started swinging. You don't know who you're messing with. We ain't no ordinary goblin, sweetheart. We're Lord Lennox's elite guards, the goblins that gobble other goblins. That's right, the Gob Squad. Get him, lads. The boys look scrawny. Start with him. The goblin captain spun the heavy metal ball as morning star in the air. Glorious gob strike. Aye. Gob strike. I'll dodge. Who are you? The goblin was quickly silenced as the rushing winds tore through it and collapsed to the floor with a final shriek. Maggie looked down at his victim, expression unchanged. Another goblin flew down from overhead. Bombs away! With a growl, it sent its morning star swinging from above. Let's roll away, roll across the floor, dodging the attack. But I wasn't fast enough, the airball crushed straight into my back. Without a howl as the force of the impact jutted through my body. Never felt such raw pain in my entire life. I rolled around on the floor in agony. Hard dance for me, boy. Let me hear you sing. As I crawled onto the floor, the shadow of the goblin teared over me like a black mountain. Die, brat. The kid lashed out with a lightning-fast kick. There's more where that came from. Please have mercy. The stricken goblin had collapsed to the floor, its eyes wide with fear. This isn't a game, Surge. Watch yourself, will ya? My head was spinning, but I managed to take the opportunity to rise to my feet. Gob strike incoming.
I just about managed to push my enemy's attack aside and tried to strike back with my knife. Laying a heavy blow right to the goblin's unguarded flank, the goblin's face crumpled in agony. Magic conjured up a black wind, which surged forth like a shearing tempest. How does humanoid spell like that? Who are you? This counterattack, it was better off attacking than trying to clumsy dodge. I tackled the goblin head on. It bounced helplessly up. Its enormous rock-like body smashed head first into the floor. Did I get a game over? And that was how I died! Did I get a game over? I guess that answers my question. Well, thank goodness I thought to save. Alright, let's try this again.
Let's counterattack. Dang. Well, I was convinced I could do this in one sitting. It's almost 2.5 hours. Hold on a second, I'll be right back. Um, I think that's going to be it for tonight. I didn't expect this to be a two-parter. Let me try another Google search to see how long this is actually supposed to take. Checking out howlongtobeat.com. Main story, 3 hours. Okay, so completionist, 7 hours. Good Lord. Well, I think that's gonna be it for me. My voice is killing me from reading for almost 2.5 hours. So I'm thinking maybe I'll try to come back Friday night and finish this off because I don't want to just rush through it. Because that's how you make mistakes. So, yep. Interesting game for sure. But thanks for tuning in. I'll be back to do the rest of Radical Dreamers either maybe Friday or sometime over the weekend. I'll be doing Final Fantasy 15 next Tuesday for sure. Because that's the big game I'm working on now. So, take care.